Today in our cannabis education series, the whys and the hows of choosing a medical cannabis dispensary. I know that there are a lot of options out there. People can still go to the underground and there's a lot of availability. But for a medical cannabis patient, I think there are 3 reasons you should try to go to a medical cannabis dispensary. And I'm going to end with what to be looking for in the place that you go to. So the 3 reasons are consistency, quality, and selection. Consistency is a really important one because the hard part about going to underground is that people don't always have the same strains of cannabis, the different types. The technical name is cultivars, but everyone calls it strains, so I'll say that. The thing about cannabis is it's very individualistic to the strain of what's going to work for you. Sometimes one that makes you happy and feel good and helps with your medical condition versus one that just does nothing for you or puts you in a hard, dark place. You can't really tell very well beforehand what's going to work, except with one trick, and that is using your nose. A number of studies have looked at the human nose is so sensitive, it can tell what's going to work for you. So if you stick your nose into a thing of flour and it feels right, that's probably going to be the one that feels right for your body as well. And really, you have nothing else to go on. When you have the levels of THC and CBD, they don't matter all that much, at least the few percentage points in either direction. You can have high CBD and low THC, or high THC and low CBD, or a blend of the two. But besides those 3 categories, if it's 20% versus 18% THC, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is the terpene profile. Those are the molecules that give the smells to cannabis plants and to plants in general. Cannabis has an especially wide palette of terpenes. That's why humans have been able to breed it to have all of these distinct aromas. And not only are terpenes medicinal in themselves, such as lavender plants, you stick your nose into that and get that linalool into your system, it calms you down. It has an anti-anxiety effect, even just a small smell of lavender. And all of the terpenes are doing things like that. Not only do they help your body medically, they also alter how the cannabinoids get into your system. And really, the difference between the strains might not be the THC and CBD content as much as the terpenes. And so the great thing about a medical cannabis dispensary is they're more likely to continue to have the same strains. That being said, they don't always, even the good ones. You know, these things come in batches, and you can't just magically recreate a batch when you're between growing seasons. So if you find a strain of cannabis that works really well for you, I would go back to the dispensary and I would buy a bunch of it, 1 ounce or 2 ounces, so you have that one around for a long time. And whenever you see it, get it again. That's one of the best reasons to go to a medical cannabis dispensary. The second reason is quality. As much as I love the underground, and that was who got all of my weed all my life, and heck still does here in France, the thing about quality is the cannabis plant is amazing at sucking up heavy metals from the soil, more than corn or wheat or some other crops. They are even using cannabis plants at certain places to remediate the soil. At copper mines, even at Chernobyl for the uranium, they'll plant hemp to suck up the heavy metals, and then they'll destroy the hemp plants, and that's how they get it out of the soil. So that's great for fixing the soil, but that's not what you want in your medical cannabis plant. So one reason is a dispensary does heavy metal testing. Another one is they test for molds and pesticides and fungus. And that's really important because for someone who is immunocompromised, that small amount of fungi that might be inside a cannabis plant that wasn't cured correctly can get into your system and cause problems. So that microbial testing that you'll get at a dispensary is really important as well. And then you also just at least get a definitive number on the CBD and THC content in the product so you can get a better sense of what you're getting into. So the quality is really important, and it's one reason to go for a dispensary. The last one is selection, because for inhaled cannabis, you'll have a lot more different strains to select from, but there's lots of other ways to be taking cannabis. Some people take oils or tinctures that go under the tongue and into the system orally. There's also topical salves that you can take. There are vape pens. Vape pens are an excellent way to get cannabinoids in your system really, really quickly and not do that small amount of lung irritation that comes from burning a plant material. overall, burning a cannabis plant is safer than burning a cigarette, but you're still inhaling burnt plant material. So vape pens are really great for people who want to get the THC into their system immediately for perhaps a PTSD or anti-anxiety or pain-killing effect. You want to wait those 20 minutes to an hour for an oil or a tincture or an edible to be working. So the great part about Medical Cannabis Dispensary is if you're going to be eating some kind of cannabis, they're going to have a consistent product that you can keep going back to. And for some people, gummies and edibles are just the perfect way to go. They take their half gummy in the morning, they take another one at lunchtime, and they take a full one at night to help them sleep. Maybe they're even taking different types, some to keep them awake, some to help them go to sleep. But you can mix and match and find what works for you and then stick with it. Then the hardest part is how to find the right cannabis dispensary for you. And this is not an easy choice. Depending on the state you're in, you might have a number of options in your area. And how I would go about the search is I would put a little bit of work into it. This is a bit of a challenge, but could be a great medicine that changes your life. But it depends on the type that you're getting into your system, how you're getting into your system. It's going to take a little bit of experimentation, and it's worth having a good partner that can help guide you through it. So I would first go online and look at all the cannabis dispensaries close enough that you can drive to. But I would make that a pretty wide net. You're not going to have to go there that often. It might be worth driving an hour or two to get to a really excellent one that you only go to every 2 months or so. Look at the reviews online, look at what other customers are saying, dive as deep as you can, and look for reasons to reject them. Look for reasons to winnow down that list to just a couple. And once you have 2 or 3 that you think really sound good, call them up and start asking over the phone about your condition, what they would recommend, and see who has the best answers. That's what's going to matter the most. If the general people answering the phone have good information, that probably also means that they have one person in that shop who's really sharp on this stuff and can be there guiding you towards the best selection. You could even ask who their best person might be and when they work, and you can come in and talk to them directly. So it might take some work to find the right dispensary, but I think it's worth it because if you get a really good one, they can help guide you to the product selection that will lead to a healthier, happier life.